The right time is always shown in our contemporary society, whether it be on cell phones, computer screens, automobile dashboards, or microwaves. The wristwatch has mostly lost its use and has evolved into a fashion piece in search of continued use. However, the original cannot be compared. Check out these beloved true vintage timepieces that have just undergone re-edition treatment. Steinhardt Ocean. With each new release, Steinhardt has truly pushed the brand's watchmaking boundaries, providing us with amazing Swiss-made mechanical timepieces that are incredibly valuable for many years. I'm highlighting a Steinhardt Namen exclusive watch that will definitely ignite a flurry of ardent fervor among watch enthusiasts. The watch radiates loads of vintage character in a solidly built exterior and trustworthy Swiss-made workhorse beneath, typical traits that we've grown to adore from the brand. It features a tropical chocolate dial and a fading ghost gray bezel. Dietrich. When it comes to a neo-vintage timepiece that captures both the avant-garde and retro sides of things, the Dietrich SD-1 Tropic Green Namen exclusive is unquestionably my favorite of the bunch among those on this list. The watch is a masterpiece created by Emmanuel Dietrich, the innovative French designer and founder of the company. It flawlessly combines Dietrich's basic design principles with gorgeous components of 1960 recreational diving watches. This is a true game-changer for Dietrich and a great offering for those seeking an original idea, especially given its price range and providing such impressive specs, including a beautiful sapphire dial. Avant Tropic Diver 39 Royal. Just had to put a magnificent item, especially for a collection inspired by both modernist design features and retro aesthetics. The Tropic Diver series from Avant is perhaps one of the most eagerly anticipated models from the brand. The dial design is somewhat modern, but the steel beads of rice bracelet and convex ceramic bezel insert immediately convey a captivating vintage-inspired appearance. The statistics sheet for this watch, which is powered by a dependable SW200-1 automatic movement built in Switzerland, looks interesting on its own, but the incredible execution and design are the actual cherry on top. Hattori Ryukyu Diver Tropic Green. The Hattori Ryukyu Diver Tropic Green from independent watch company Hattori Watch Co. really shines as a well-crafted mechanical tool watch with Japanese inspiration that is filled with appealing looks and features for a reasonably priced option. The overall case design brilliantly evokes a familiar sense of nostalgia by mimicking the characteristic appearance of Japanese skin divers from the 1960s. Though the watch draws inspiration from the past while adopting a forward-looking ethos, the refined multi-finished exterior, pleasing dimensions, and captivating dial splendidly showcase the brand's value-driven watchmaking philosophy. As a result, fellow watch enthusiasts can now own a durable timepiece that will last for many years to come. Avant Polestar. The Avant Polestar, pardon my blue, a truly captivating dive watch that flawlessly portrays a design drawing inspiration from both the past and the present, is the list's opening model and is a fascinating Namen exclusive brand. It is simple to understand why this item made the list because of its bomb lugs, which are evocative of cased designs from the 1970s, yet superbly created with an appealing future aesthetic. This piece upholds Avant's fascinating idea of merging modernistic designs with nostalgic accents. The smooth polished complete blue DLC, diamond-like carbon-coated case, which is unlike anything I've seen, is undoubtedly the star of the show here. Many watch aficionados want to find a watch with a distinctive offering, and coming from a relatively new brand, Avant completely accomplished it with this aggressive design. Tissot Heritage 1973. This watch is based on a 1973 timepiece, the Navigator, a cushion-shaped chronograph that was extremely reminiscent of the 1970s and made reference to the brand's interest in motor racing, as the name clearly indicates. In addition to the Le Mans 24 Hours, Formula One, and the Monte Carlo Rally, this was the year Tissot sponsored team Renault Alpine. The team finished on the podium in all three spots. The Panda dial is currently quite popular, and the contrast between the polished and brushed steel makes for fantastic light play. Yema Superman Heritage, another military reissue, but this time from France and a company you probably aren't all that acquainted with. Henry Louis Belmont founded it in 1948, and it has traveled to the North Pole and space. However, this particular revival from 1963, although being a dive watch, was actually given to French Air Force pilots. The original had a special bezel locking mechanism to make sure it didn't move when the wearer was underwater and was water-resistant to 300 meters. Like its predecessor, this is still water-resistant to 300 meters, but it now has a dependable ETA movement and a stylish tricolor stitch strap. Tag Heuer Autavia Isograph. Consider this a contentious mashup. Vintage Heuer lovers were outspoken when TAG Heuer introduced its new three-hander Autavia Isograph. Since this was initially a dashboard clock, and its name is a combination of the words automobile and aviation, purists believed it should only ever be a chronograph. It's preferable to consider this a collection of antique illusions rather than getting your Y-fronts all twisted up. The railroad track and the large crown trace back to the 1930s, Arabic numerals and the date window date to the 1960s, and the modern Caliber 5 has a flashy new carbon composite hairspring. Use your iPhone like everyone else to keep track of how long your egg is cooking. Zenith El Primero A384 Revival. It is a historically authentic recreation of one of the most significant chronographs ever produced, not merely a reissue. In 1969, Zenith introduced the El Primero chronograph caliber, which changed the course of watchmaking. Although amazing today, it was much more so in the late 1960s because it was fully integrated, beat at a higher frequency of 36,000 VPH, and had a power reserve of at least 50 hours. Zenith employed a reverse engineering technique to verify that every component is true to the 1969 edition for the watch's 50th birthday, which involved digitizing every component of the original movement. Even so, Zenith has chosen to stick with a 37mm case size rather than catering to contemporary size demands. One of the most gorgeous and faithful reissues of 2019 comes from adding the vintage tonneau design, panda dial, and complementing alligator strap. Bulova Computron. This kitsch-filled Bulova is not one of the many things that don't add up. It was designed as an LED driver's watch when it was first introduced in 1970, which is why it has an angled display so that you don't have to shift your wrist while driving to check the time. And without much fiddling, it's already back. The gold tone is the one to buy even if there are black and limited edition stainless steel versions available. It's so 80s that you almost anticipate seeing advertisements for it following the season of Stranger Things. Oris Big Crown Pointer Date 80th Anniversary Edition. In 2018, Oris celebrated 80 years since it originally added the pointer date mechanism to its Big Crown Pilot's watch, which is also known as the only respectable date function for most watch lovers. The brand's celebration efforts largely consisted of turning the dial a disheveled shade of green and bronzing the casing, with the case size being increased to 40 mm. Green and bronze are fast overtaking blue and steel as a popular color combination. However, these two iterations are a little different from the standard. Longines Heritage Military. This Longines historical timepiece is modeled after the pilot's timepieces that the RAF used during World War II, and that were built on special orders from the Ministry of Defense. This watch is a reproduction of the 6B/159 Ref.4830, apparently with some modern modifications, rather than one of the dirty dozen military timepieces, of which Longines was one. Little has changed in terms of aesthetics, but the case is now larger, which is 38.5 mm instead of 32 mm, and automatic rather than hand wound. Who cares if the patina is actually hand-sprayed black paint when it appears so real? Omega Speedmaster Moonshine Limited Edition 2019 marks the 50th anniversary of men setting foot on the moon, unless you've been living under a rock. Furthermore, those males were in possession of Omega Speedmaster watches. Even while this isn't the caliber 321 revival that every watch nerd has been waiting for, the BA's 145.022 is an identical reproduction of the original, which was only produced in 1,014 pieces and debuted in November 1969 at a dinner to honor the astronauts who made it to the moon. Here, ordinary yellow gold has been replaced with Omega's exclusive moonshine gold, while the 3861, a new manual version of the classic 1861, is running the watch and is visible through the sapphire case back. Jim, it's a Speedmaster, but not in the way we're used to. Seiko. This reissue is for you if you enjoy the smell of napalm in the morning. Martin Sheen wore the 6105, or Willard, on which this is modeled when he searched for General Kurtz in Apocalypse Now. The watch has thankfully received a couple of updates since then. Water resistance has been raised from 150 meters to 200 meters. It is driven by Seiko's 8L35, a rougher version of the Grand Seiko 9's 55, but it still retains the original's asymmetrical case design. If that happens to be a stylish vintage Seiko diver, then this watch is proof that everyone can achieve anything he wants.